In 1980, Danny was a notorious assassin who specialized in taking high-paying contracts. With his polished, professional ability to stage crime scenes, he became increasingly sought after. One day, like any other, Danny received a new assignment. Along with his three close friends, Hunter, Davies, and Meyer, he accepted a mission to assassinate a tycoon in Mexico. They had carefully planned the ambush and waited patiently for the right moment. They blew up the security vehicle in front to cut off the tycoon's convoy. Hunter slammed on the gas, shifting gears with lightning speed to block the escape route behind them. He jumped out and opened fire, forcing the driver to accelerate forward. Danny then shot out the tires, bringing the car to a stop, and planted a bomb to blow open the door. Amid the chaos, he quietly eliminated the two bodyguards and the wealthy target. But just then, Danny froze. He spotted a child nearby, and a wave of guilt washed over him. As he hesitated, the police arrived and shot him in the shoulder. Hunter rushed in, dragging Danny to safety. Davies pulled up just in time with the car, and they narrowly escaped. The mission was technically successful, but it didn't feel like a victory. After that incident, Danny decided to walk away from the life. The guilt kept growing and he chose to give it all up. A year later, he returned home to Australia, bought a farm, and settled into a quiet life raising fish and growing vegetables. But the peace didn't last. One day, Danny received a letter. Inside was a photo of Hunter, beaten, exhausted, barely recognizable, being held captive. Danny was torn, but in the end, loyalty won. He followed the address in the letter to Oman. There, he met an agent named Asen, who led him to a powerful oil sheik named AMR. Years earlier, Western powers had destabilized AMR's region to seize oil resources. During the chaos, 3 of AMR's sons were assassinated. After years of investigation, AMR discovered the culprits, 3 former Special Forces soldiers. However, he lacked the means to confront them himself. He had offered $6 million to anyone willing to take revenge. Hunter had accepted the job, but failed. Furious, AMR now demanded that Danny complete the mission if he wanted his friend back. The deaths had to look like accidents, and each target had to confess on camera before dying. The job also had to be finished before AMR, who was terminally ill, passed away. Danny agreed. When he saw Hunter's condition, anger surged through him. He immediately tried to break him out, knocking out guards and fighting his way through the compound. But it was all a setup. AMR had orchestrated the escape attempt to test Danny's abilities. With no choice left, Danny committed to the mission. He flew to London to track down his former teammates, Davies and Meyer. He explained everything and offered to split the $6 million between them. The amount was convincing enough. They agreed on the spot. Their first target was Harris, a former Special Forces operative. After conducting surveillance, they planned to stage his death as a bathroom accident. Davies began gathering intelligence. However, his actions were too obvious, which made the pub owner suspicious. The owner immediately contacted a social organization that protects former Special Forces veterans. Logan quickly sensed that something was off, reported the situation to his superiors, and at the same time sent someone to tail Davies. Meanwhile, Danny's team had already flown to the Middle East to begin the mission. Their first target was a former Special Forces operative named Harris. This guy was a real hard case and extremely difficult to deal with. After a period of surveillance, Danny located his residence. The team then contacted some locals to buy tools needed to stage a fake accident scene. Danny later broke into Harris's house without being noticed and pried up several tiles from the bathroom floor. The next day, he brought the removed tiles back to Meyer. Their plan was to stage the death as an accident, someone slipping in the bathroom, hitting their head, and cracking a tile. To make this believable, they attached the tiles to a hammer. At that moment, one of Logan's subordinates was surveilling them and managed to snap a photo of all 3. But with the instincts of an assassin, Danny sensed he was being watched. The team immediately drove off, trying to shake the tail. Logan's man ran for some distance and then jumped into a hole to hide. Unfortunately for him, Danny followed through a pre-dug tunnel in pursuit. With no other option, the subordinate smashed a beehive, causing the bees to swarm chaotically, and used the confusion to escape. The next day, Danny and Meyer disguised themselves as journalists and approached Harris's villa. Danny went inside and pulled out his gun, leaving Harris completely confused, thinking it was a daytime robbery. Unexpectedly, they set up a camera and interrogated him about whether he had dealings with the oil sheik's son. Harris showed no fear at all and openly admitted that he had done it. The confession was successfully recorded.
Yeah, you assassinated Hussein bin Amir. We were witnesses. You dropped him in front of his family.
You got me. I did it. Fuck you. Good one.
We have what we need.
Danny then went into the bathroom, grabbed some shampoo, and poured it all over the floor. After that, he used the tools prepared earlier to stage the accident scene. Meyer then chased Harris into the bathroom at gunpoint. But just as they were about to act, Harris's girlfriend arrived unexpectedly. With no choice, Danny hid behind the wall, ready to adapt to the situation. Harris's girlfriend screamed for help at the top of her lungs, but no one came. When Danny returned to the bathroom, Meyer had already finished dealing with Harris. Although there had been a small hiccup, the first objective was finally completed. They then moved on to the second target. Through investigation, Davies discovered that this next hard case, Craig, was still actively serving in the Special Forces and had been involved with the oil sheik's second son. Every day, aside from visiting the hospital to care for his elderly wife, Craig spent the rest of his time at the barracks. Learning that Craig was scheduled for a training exercise on a snowy mountain, the team knew they had to seize this opportunity. Danny went to the hospital disguised as a dentist and stole anesthetic drugs. As he was about to leave, he unexpectedly ran into Logan. Logan remembered the photo his subordinate had sent him, immediately confirmed Danny's identity, and sensed something was wrong. Danny reacted instantly, speeding up and running straight toward the main road. The two began a cat-and-mouse chase. Logan was incredibly persistent and hard to shake, so Danny changed direction and entered another hospital. Logan followed closely, sticking to him like a leech, forcing Danny to expose himself. A confrontation was unavoidable. One was a top-tier assassin, the other an elite soldier. The fight was evenly matched, with neither gaining the upper hand. Eventually, Danny wrestled Logan to the ground, but Logan smashed a bottle over Danny's head. Enraged, Danny delivered a brutal blow to Logan's family jewels, then jumped into his car and fled the scene. The next day, the team continued their operation. Danny put on a soldier's uniform and successfully infiltrated the barracks. Before the training began, he identified Craig. When Craig wasn't paying attention, Danny slipped the anesthetic into his water cup. Craig unknowingly drank the entire cup. As planned, the drug took effect during the training session. Danny approached Craig and interrogated him about the incident involving the oil sheik's second son, while Davies recorded everything. In the brutal weather conditions, Craig met his end. The second target was eliminated far more smoothly than expected. Later, Logan watched the news and saw confirmation that Craig had died due to the harsh environment. He knew damn well that Danny was behind it. After completing the second mission, Danny's team began planning for the final target, Simon, the man responsible for the oil sheik's third son. This would be the toughest assignment, as Simon was Logan's close friend. He had a very short temper. Once, when someone scratched his car, he didn't hesitate to beat up 4 or 5 punks by himself. After investigating, Danny learned that Simon had been unemployed for a long time. He disguised himself as the director of a transport company and invited Simon in for a job interview. That night, the team broke into the transport company and hacked into the control system of a truck. The next morning, Simon accepted the invitation and headed to the interview. Danny followed him to relay his position, while Meyer controlled the truck remotely. Around the same time, the truck driver arrived for work. Once the truck entered the same route as Simon, Danny and Jake overtook it and blocked the road. Davies then signaled Meyer to take control of the system, leaving the driver unable to steer. Simon soon arrived. When his car reached the desired speed, Meyer steered the truck into oncoming traffic. Simon was struck without warning and died instantly. As Danny was about to step out and confirm the kill, Logan's subordinate appeared. Once spotted, Meyer ordered Jake to flee. The two vehicles chased each other all the way to the harbor. After a collision, they used the car's blind spots to threaten the subordinate with a gun. At first, Danny's side had the advantage, but Jake moved forward aggressively, allowing the subordinate to grab the weapon. During the struggle, Jake quickly picked up the gun, but accidentally pulled the trigger, fatally shooting his own teammate, Meyer.
Come from? Step away from the car. Check the car. Slowly. No, 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 no.
The mission was completed, but at the cost of Meyer's life. This loss enraged Danny. Still, what was done. Danny told Davies to find a place to hide temporarily while he went to meet the oil sheik to rescue Hunter. Davies, however, couldn't stay hidden for long. Feeling restless, he went looking for a place of vice to blow off some steam. Unfortunately, the hotel owner reported him to Logan. Logan sent his men to capture Davies. While loading him into the car, they made a mistake, giving Davies the chance to fight back and escape. Davies ran onto the main road looking for help, but tragedy struck. He was hit by a car and died on the spot. The deaths of his friends weighed heavily on Danny, pushing him to the edge. He decided to seek out Logan and make peace. He no longer wanted war. Too many friends on both sides had already paid the ultimate price, and this had to end. After that, Danny returned to Oman and handed over the final confession videos to the oil sheik. Hunter was finally released, and the two agreed to wash their hands of everything and lay down their swords for good. Danny returned to Australia to reunite with his girlfriend, Anne. Just when it seemed like everything was finally over, Danny received a call from Agent Nason. Nason told him there was still one more person involved in the murder of the sheik's son. He reminded Danny about Harris, the man who killed the sheik's eldest son. But in reality, Harris hadn't acted alone. There was another accomplice who helped him kill the old man's son. Hearing this, Danny showed no interest. The original deal was for only 3 people. Now a fourth one suddenly appeared out of nowhere. But despite his refusal, they forced him back into the mission by threatening his girlfriend's life. With no choice, Danny had to compromise once again. After finding a bullet that had been left behind, Danny went upstairs to see his girlfriend. He knew they were being watched. Powerless to do anything, he arranged for Hunter to send Anne to Paris so she would be protected. After that, Danny went to confront the oil sheik's youngest son to demand an explanation. He warmed up by taking down several bodyguards before finally meeting him. When the youngest son saw Danny, he remained calm and confident. He claimed that Harris was actually innocent and said the real person Danny needed to find was the one who had published a certain book. Following that lead, Danny went to meet Agent as to gather more information. Unbeknownst to him, Logan was hiding upstairs, completely unnoticed. After listening in on their conversation, Logan quickly gathered his subordinates and headed to the assassination site. Their plan was to use Danny's own method against him and capture him alive. At that moment, the police had already surrounded the area. A man wearing a black helmet casually walked in, acting like nothing was wrong. Just as he reached for the door, the bomb planted on the latch detonated, killing him instantly. But when the helmet was removed, he was suddenly attacked by Danny. It turned out Danny had entered through the back of the building and reached the 4th target first. He put 2 bullets into the man's leg. For a brief moment, Danny's past sins flashed through his mind, but that was behind him now. He quickly took photos as proof and escaped. By the time Logan arrived, only a body remained. He immediately went after Danny. At first, Danny thought he could escape smoothly, but to his surprise, all the exits were locked. Logan was closing in fast. With no other option, Danny jumped onto a nearby building that was still under construction. Risking his life, he barely landed on the scaffolding. A woman nearby saw what happened and screamed loudly. Danny pulled out his gun to scare her into silence, but it didn't work. Still, he didn't want to harm an innocent person. In the end, his position was exposed, and Logan shot him. Logan had his men take Danny to an abandoned warehouse. He then returned to the scene and was shocked to discover that Danny had spared the 4th target's life. Confused, Logan went to interrogate him. With a gun pointed at him, Danny had no choice but to tell the truth. He explained that the entire plan had come from the oil sheik himself. Danny didn't want to kill anyone else, so he had only knocked out the 4th target and taken photos as evidence. After hearing the truth, Logan turned to leave, but suddenly, a government agent walked in and aimed a gun at both of them. The agent revealed that the higher-ups were fully aware of the oil sheik's plan. They never wanted Logan involved. Their intention was to use Danny to eliminate the soldiers who knew too much about past events. It turned out the government was behind the struggle for oil territory and wanted to cover up the crime. Now that both men knew the truth, They were supposed to die there. Hearing this, Danny was consumed with rage. Taking advantage of the agent's moment of distraction, he counterattacked. A chaotic three-way fight broke out between men with completely different motives. After Danny performed a brutal takedown on the agent, Logan immediately slammed him aside. Logan picked up the gun, killed the agent, and then turned the weapon on Danny, intending to kill him as well. But Danny was too fast and too dangerous. He leaped through a window and escaped. The next day, Danny met with Hunter to discuss their next move. They decided to confront the oil sheik and hand over the photos of the final target to end everything once and for all. Unexpectedly, Logan also showed up, seeking revenge for his fallen friends. Logan disguised himself as Danny's messenger and approached the old man, claiming the photos were fake. Using a hidden knife, he killed the oil sheik on the spot. Even more shocking, the youngest son didn't seem to care at all. He even willingly handed Logan $6 million. At that moment, Danny and Hunter spotted Logan leaving and immediately chased after him. The final confrontation took place in the desert. After a long pursuit, Hunter pulled out his gun and shot out the tires of Logan's car, forcing him to stop and surrender. Hunter saw the suitcase full of cash and was thrilled, as if it were harvest season. He suggested splitting the money, calling it the reward for their hard work. But Danny refused, telling him to throw it away. Hunter couldn't bring himself to do that, so he decided to take only a small portion for his family. It turned out Logan had dealt with the government agent, which meant the authorities wouldn't let things go. He needed the money to disappear and start a new life. Danny finally understood that from beginning to end, Logan only wanted revenge for his brothers. Now that everything was over, Logan had to decide what came next. The movie ends here. Danny rushed back to reunite with his girlfriend and finally live a peaceful, happy life. Thank you so much for watching and being part of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to subscribe and support the journey. See you in the next one.